Good evening, folks, and welcome to the War Party Paranormal Radio Show, where we will discuss all things paranormal. Hear firsthand eyewitness accounts from fellow team members and special guests. Now, for lead investigator and your host, Eric Vanderlaan, and co-host, Michael Del Toro.
What's up, my paranormal people? Happy Monday. We got another good one for you, right, Mike?
Yes, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing?
I'm Eric Vanderlaan. I'm the your host and for War Party Paranormal Radio and the team leader of War Party Paranormal Research. And next to me, I pointed right this time, is...
My name is Mike. I'm a tech specialist and investigator with War Party Paranormal. And we got a pretty good episode tonight for you. Eric, tell them what we're getting into.
Well, we're going back to my roots and our guest roots as well. We were at the Deering Estate, which is considered one of the most haunted places in Miami, Florida. We were actually doing an event for middle school students for a forensics class, and we were teaching them, how to ghost hunt, things like that. So what a perfect place than the Deering Estate. And we also had a special guest. We had Susan Slaughter, which everyone knows from GHI, Ghost Hunters International, and Paranormal Caught on Camera. And we got to do a little bit of investigating with her, and we actually got pretty good evidence, even though we had 60 students there.
As much investigating as we could in between, doing the event as well. But yeah, no, she was awesome, super nice, very good to meet her for sure. And yeah, we still did catch some amazing clips for sure, and we got that here to show you guys here in a little bit.
Yep. So I'm not going to waste any more time, and I'm just going to go start with the intro. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
War Party Paranormal. We're here at the Deering Estate, getting ready to do an event for a forensics class of middle school kids. What you have here is the Richmond Cottage. This was the first building that was here. It used to be an inn back when it was the town of Cutler, back in 1896. And then when the town abandoned, Charles Deering, big into art, he ended up buying this land and originally started living here while he was building the Stone Mansion. And the Stone Mansion was completed in about the 1920s, and right after it was completed, Charles Deering died in this house. And we get him, and that's what we're going to be looking for. A lot of paranormal activity.
All right, yeah, so it's going to be pretty exciting. We got some kids. We're going to show them some of the equipment and do a couple things, but we're still going to have a little bit of time to investigate before and after. So,
and we got Susan Slaughter in the house.
A special guest for tonight's radio show.
Pretty cool, huh? Awesome place. Like my favorite.
No, for sure. It was my first time there, and I loved it. It was outstanding.
Yeah, we're going to definitely have to go there with just the team, but real quick, before we bring in our special guest, Susan Slaughter, and go with her little interview, just want to give you a brief history of the Deering Estate. So like I mentioned, it was owned by Charles Deering, who pretty much passed away in the Deering Estate, and we get evidence of him, his wife. We've got evidence of a little boy in the Richmond Cottage. Even the grounds. There's an ancient Indian burial ground where you have to walk out to, and there's like a big old massive tree, and they're all, the bodies were like placed in a circular position. We've gotten EVPs out there. The grounds are like, they're go date back to like prehistoric. University of Miami's been digging their archaeological school, and they've uncovered a saber-toothed tiger, a woolly mammoth, and even like Native Americans, like dating back like hundreds and thousands of years ago. The Native Americans, that was like a sacred hunting ground. They call it big hunting grounds. And there's a lot of things going on there. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So we have a special guest, and we're going to bring in Susan Slaughter. Before I do that, I'm going to play a little interview we did with her, okay? We got Susan Slaughter from Paranormal Caught on Camera, and going further back to GHI, Ghost Hunters International, and that's where you may know her. And also, people may not know that this is where it all happened when it came to paranormal investigation.
And it's been a long time since I've been here. It's been at least 15 years since I stepped foot on this property. And I mean, this was the location that started my whole paranormal career, was this spot. You know, I was born and raised here in South Florida. It's ingrained in my culture and who I am. And so being back at Deering with War Party is an honor. Thank you for having me. We're here tonight to kind of include some children in the 6th and 7th grade into the paranormal field, you know, start them while they're young.
Exactly.
And
they're going to have a nice surprise too.
Nobody knows who I am. Nobody
Oh, you'll be
knows.
surprised. You'll be surprised. How many times is Paranormal Caught on Camera on Travel Channel? Maybe like at least 3 times a week, right?
I guess, yeah. But maybe we'll get something tonight while I'm here with you guys that we could put on the show.
Exactly.
This is a pretty awesome location to be a first.
Yeah, it's the most haunted. It's claimed as the most haunted location in all of Miami. Everything that comes to the paranormal all started here with me when I was with Colleen, Prism, and LPI were here. So and I live down the street. So I've always like wondered what's behind this wall. And I don't know, like I almost feel like it's almost like a spiritual place for me. Like I feel very connected. You probably feel the same way too, right?
I do.
Yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to get evidence of the energy that she was feeling and try to see what type of activity will happen later on tonight. So that's what we're gonna do tonight.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a good time with Susan.
Yeah, no, it was great.
I mean, and it was weird because like we had 60 kids and it was pretty loud. We did have a couple of moments where it was quiet, and surprisingly enough, we got some pretty good paranormal evidence. So we're not going to waste any time, and we're going to bring on Susan, and then we're going to go through the evidence that we captured throughout the night. Sounds good?
Awesome.
Hey, Susan.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Eric.
How's everything?
Hi, everyone in the chat room. I've been reading it all. Wanted to give a little shout out to Ingrid, who was part of the OG team.
Oh, yeah.
With, you know, she's part of War Party Paranormal now, but she was also
What's up, Ingrid?
in the LPI and when we did the investigation at Deering Estate. And I've done a couple of investigations with her. So I missed her at Deering. You know, it would have been quite the grand reunion. And I just wanted to say hi to April, the psychic housewife. I've never met her in person, but
Awesome.
I follow her and I've heard great things about her from our peers. So.
Yeah, big shout out to April Bissett right there. She's watching. She was our guest from last week, so it's super cool to have her here and watching and tagging along. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, so like I was saying, like the very first place I ever went on an actual paranormal investigation with the team was with the League of Paranormal Investigators of Miami at Deering Estate. And we were the first team to ever investigate there. And that was my first investigation there. And that was, I guess, what started it all for me. And then, you know, just kind of how that happened was, so I lived off of Old Cutler my whole life. I was born and raised in what was called Cutler Ridge at the time.
Yeah, I was a rich rat.
So, you know, it's right up the street and I just moved back to my hometown. And so following you guys, you know, I saw that you had posted, I had reached out to you guys because you had posted the photo that we had took on that investigation at Deering State of the full-bodied apparition. And like in the outdoor area by the ocean, like the boat basin. And so I was like, wow, holy shit. That's so cool. So I had reached out to you guys and was like, yeah, if you're ever going back to Deering, you got to let me know. And then Ingrid reached out to me and she was like, hey, I heard you're thinking about going to Deering. I'm with War Party now. And I'm like, whoa. I haven't seen Ingrid in like probably 13 to 15 years, but we've kept in touch like on social media and stuff. So it was really cool how like as soon as I came back, like everything kind of went full circle again, you know? And
Right.
it was a trip being there. And it's also changed a lot in the 15 years I was there. I was telling you a little bit about the stories from like, I guess, psychic intuitions and like using, you know, the tri-field meters and EMF detectors to do like yes and no answers. We kind of built a story around one of the energies. I don't know if to be honest, I can't remember if it was in the Richmond cottage or if it was in the carriage house, because we also had the opportunity to investigate.
That place is active too.
Yeah, we got this whole storyline of like one of the what we would call the help, you know, a person, a man, young man who was like Latino or Hispanic or spoke Spanish because he spoke to us better when we spoke to him in Spanish. Mentioning he had some sort of affair with one of the more upper class women of the estate. And then mentioned, you know, this secret diary that she had, something about how she used to either meet up with him or like the gazebo held secrets and like all of this stuff. I don't know if she had buried her diary in the gazebo or if they had like illicit affairs in the gazebo, but the gazebo was like a big area around our investigation. And then when I go there and I'm like, where's the gazebo? Where's the gazebo? It's no longer there anymore.
Oh no.
And so I was like, oh man, there was like this whole like secret love affair that happened around that gazebo. It was a very, you know, hush hush thing, that strange information we just got on that very first investigation. And then what tripped me out was going to the Richmond cottage and then seeing this young, you know, a picture of a young man who is one of the former servants, or I guess, you know.
And you just made that connection when you saw that picture.
And I never seen a picture. And I was like, is this the person that we were speaking to all those years ago that, you know, had this kind of affair with this woman? And I don't even know who the woman was or, you know.
Like, but that wasn't the limo driver, Mr. Deering's limo driver?
I mean, you said he was like his like chauffeur. So
yeah, his chauffeur.
We didn't really get any information as to exactly what his job was, other than the fact that he said that he was a help. And it was really interesting to get that. Hi, Brittany.
Everyone's saying hi to you. You're popular.
So
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. And another thing too, is like, we also got the chance to investigate like the ground, you know, you start getting, for people who have never been to Deering, there is a trail that leads through the mangroves and you start getting towards that area. And like you said, there's all this just ancient history on the lands there.
Yeah.
I mean, 300 BC to like the 1500s, there was the Tequesta Indians or Native Americans. That, you know, ruled over that land, you know, all of that area off of Old Cutler. And so when we saw burial grounds there, it was most likely the Tequesta Indians. And then they found artifacts there, like, you know, knives and arrows and tools and things like that. And so this was a sacred site. And then you had these settlers come in, you know, these white settlers come in and build estates there and bring in, you know, their help. I mean, I feel like the picture that we captured was of, I think, maybe a slave, you know. To me, she looked like what you would see in the Caribbean. Like her outfit was like all white with a white head wrap, which to me kind of looked like somebody that, you know, practices like maybe a form of like West African, you know, maybe voodoo culture or something like that. She looked like a voodoo priestess to me, or some form of like when people are getting initiated into Santeria or something, they have to wear all that for a period of time. And that was kind of like the garb that I saw in that photo. like really stood out to me.
So much energy on that property. Right?
And there's so much different cultures there that date back, like in the early 1900s, like even the Bahamians and the slaves and the Seminole Indians and Seminole Wars. And you said that Tequesta, people don't realize South Florida, there's like ancient land like all over the place, burial mounds. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then there was the situation that happened, with I forget the exact term, but there was a massive war against the Native Americans that happened right here on that property, where they pretty much exiled them, if not, they killed most of them off, and then exiled them to what is now 90,000 acres, controlled by the Miccosukee and Seminole tribes of South Florida. Reservations essentially. I think that's just bad blood in general, where you literally just displace a whole race of people because you're going to just take over everything. So there's a little bit of that dark history there too, and a little bit of that exhuming. I mean, what did they do with those bodies from the burial? Like, are they still there, or did they take them somehow, somewhere? Like, I don't even know what happens to the burial grounds.
I'm not sure either, but I know that I've talked to, growing up and living in Florida, I've talked to contractors and things of that nature. And if you do find remains or anything from that time, they have to stop and call an archaeologist, and then they would come in. And I don't want to mention any names.
Excavation site, but then I think a lot of the times they get taken up and put usually into museums. But I haven't seen anything about that, to be honest. Like, it wasn't until I became part of a paranormal team that I started really delving into the history of what Florida is, and like pre-colonization, the Spanish Inquisition and coming in, all of this. Like, the Tequesta Indians were ruling over that land for like 1,000 years until they met the Spaniards. And then they were actually kind of considered to be more hostile, like natives, until eventually the Spaniards had, I guess, won over their likeness, and only to obliterate them through war, disease, and just took over the property. And there's no such thing as a Tequesta Indian anymore because of that. There are bloodlines that still, kind of go into like the Miccosukee and Seminole tribes, but there's no such thing as a Tequesta Native American anymore because of the Spanish.
That's kind of funny. Eric and I recently were doing an investigation, and we got an EVP, and they were calling us savages. Right? Remember that EVP?
Yeah,
that was class
definitely
A. Wild. But I was going to say that, like, sometimes if they find artifacts and stuff like that, due to the fact that they have to call archaeologists, sometimes they won't report it, which is terrible. So there's all kinds of buildings and stuff that are erected over these sites and different things. It's an unfortunate thing, that's for sure, but it does happen.
Well, that burial mound, what I heard was, like, back when the settlers were there, the kids were playing with the bones, and when they discovered there was a burial site, from what I heard, they placed them back. So I don't know if they're still there, but I think they are. I don't know who told me that, but I think
it's hard to say anymore. I mean, something spoken of and not really, like, it doesn't, and it just ends at that. It ends at the word. It doesn't really go deeper than that. But when I see that photograph of like the full-bodied apparition, it takes me into the history of like, there's a whole neighborhood of Bahamians just up the road, like where Coconut Grove was established.
Oh yeah.
That was like one of the first, Black neighborhoods in Miami, and it was all settled by Bahamians, and they would come in and they, would work with, a lot of the settlers coming in off of Old Cutler, and they were doing, all of their types of heavy duty labors, becoming like, carriage supports or doing agriculture and things like that. And so they had a huge imprint in the area of Old Cutler. And so when I saw that full-bodied apparition, I was like, what if this is like one of the early Bahamian settlers, or just in and taking on these roles. So, I mean, I go back in time on Old Cutler, and you could see it in the foliage and the trees and the plants just off that road. If you've ever driven up Old Cutler,
it's beautiful,
completely lined with all these exotic plants, you know, that were all brought in by botanists from like the early 1800s. And
Correct.
just like, it's amazing to see that all of that is like grown into itself.
Yeah,
Not to
definitely.
mention every building, what it's built off of, like from Deering to Vizcaya to like,
Yeah.
you know, Pappas and hammocks and all of that is all built on like pure limestone, which is like most energy conducive material.
Exactly. That's another factor too, right?
Well, they were cliffs and little caves that were in there, and when they started developing it, they blew all that up, so you don't see that anymore. I mean, like even I think pirates used to hang out there, but
so much.
I mean, I could see Bahamians there on that site where the Deering estate is, because it used to be called the town of Cutler before Mr. Deering took it over, and they used to. I think the only way to get there was by boat. And what they used to grow there was it was like a root plant called, I think, Kunti or something like that. And when Flagler built the railroad down to the Keys, they thought it was going to be closer inland, but he built it way out west, and the town abandoned. And the only thing that's remaining there is a Richmond cottage. It was there in 1896. And that was the first place we went into. And as soon as we walked in, you felt it in that kitchen, didn't you?
That place has such strong energy in it. It just literally sits in your chest and crawls up your throat. You know, I don't know how to explain that. It's so heavy. It's obvious. I feel like there's this intelligence behind it too, like an awareness of whoever comes in. And yeah, it was crazy because like I didn't feel that going into like the main estate, you know, the actual hearing house, or like it was really in the Richmond cottage. And we didn't get the chance to go into the carriage house, but I also feel like that's also one of the most active locations on the
they don't let people in there too often. But I remember we were like on the second floor. By the way, the Richmond cottage on the Deering estate has a paranormal room. They have a room dedicated to the paranormal, and a lot of Susan's former team, LPI, they have a lot of evidence in that room, which is pretty cool. But like right in that hallway, you could feel like the heaviness in my chest. It was like really weird. I definitely felt that. And then we went into that little children's room and started doing EVP sessions before the kids got there. Actually, it was like, I think right when they were getting ready to get started with going through the houses, we were getting stuff. So that was pretty cool. I got a little clip of that I want to show you. Okay.
Yeah. Super creepy room with the Raggedy Ann dolls everywhere. It was creepy.
Yeah, definitely. Check this out.
K2 is going.
Yeah, and you said that.
You said
did you bump the leg again?
No.
It's moving.
You see what I'm talking about? I was like, she kicked me.
She did.
It could be that when people are walking, maybe it's
The
moving
vibration?
her.
Yeah, it could be that because the
So
floor
this
ones
senses
are very.
this senses vibration. Let's see how much vibration we got.
Yeah, I was sitting here just like this, and then I felt her like go boop, 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 like kick me. And then I was like, oh, maybe it's just me. But then it's like, yeah, you see like her leg just started moving.
Yeah, but I don't think you touched that because you were sitting still. I saw you lean over, but the leg didn't move.
I know, like, maybe like a couple of years ago, did some changes. This was just like a regular room, there's like nothing in here. Now they made it to a
Look at it, that won't happen.
what is it called, the children's room or the? I call it, kind of see the toys, yeah, you see the boys here. It's almost like the man is like keeping the boy here.
That's even weirder. I think I heard 2 at the end.
Wow, that's 2. Or
I think so,
something
yeah,
like,
so-
I don't even, it's like, wow, that's 10.
Wow,
That's 2. Or
I think so,
something
yeah,
like,
so-
I don't even, it's like, wow, that's 10.
I know.
That's weird, right?
That's from the GoPro's audio. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Could have possibly been me saying like repeating what I thought the audio recorder picked up. But when we were sitting there, so by the way, the other girl in the room is my friend Danny Batts, who came with me too. She's into haunted locations and a paranormal enthusiast. Just so you're like, who's that?
She had a blast.
Yeah, she was super sweet, by the way, too.
So she and I had clearly heard, and you too, Eric, like something came up on the recorder right after.
Yeah, definitely.
And it sounded like a full sentence. So we tried to understand what that was, but I'm assuming that you had picked that up and cleared
That's
up
the following clip that I showed you.
That's what I took care of that for you guys and see if you can hear.
Because I was like, it's an obvious voice that's not any of us in the room. And you can obviously hear the kids running around back there. And when we picked that up, though, I don't feel like there were kids walking around.
No.
So
we were like playing it over.
We caught it, and then they came in. We were listening to the clips, and then the weird thing happened with the doll. And
well, this is the point when Mike walked in, and we were playing it for him.
So I was in the other room down the hall,
and
I got my camera, I'm videoing and doing some BS, and then I start walking that way, and I enter the room, and I recorded what you guys were doing, and that's what this clip is here.
Okay.
I'm going to try a couple EVPs in a spirit box session here in just a little bit. Eric and Susan are in the other room down the hall doing an EVP session, so we can see what they catch here.
Oh, here we go.
Listen.
I know, like a couple of years ago, did some changes. This is just like a regular room, there's like nothing in here. Now they made it to a children's room. What is it called, the children's room? I call it, kind of see the toys. You got a little piece of a boy here, and a man. It's almost like the man is like keeping the boy here. Oh, that's crazy.
What was that?
What was that?
Play that again. What?
It was as you were talking about the man.
It was like whispers.
It's a whole sentence.
That was a whole sentence. I don't know what it said. It sounded sped up, but
I know, like,
We got them.
maybe like a couple of years ago, did some changes. This is just like a regular room, there's like nothing in here. And now they made it to a children's room.
And there were a bunch of kids around.
Yeah, there was.
They talking about.
And you were right when you said it sounds like it was sped up a little bit. I actually slowed it down just a smidge, and then took out a lot of the noise and just boosted it, but I didn't alter it. And that's just other than slowing it down just a little bit and clearing out some of the noise. And you can hear that pretty darn well. So
slowing it down really made the difference. And also,
but you caught that right away. You said it sounds like it's sped up.
That was Danny.
Oh, was it?
It sounds sped up. I was like, it sounds like a full sentence. And so, she was like, that's a little weird because, and that's, what I like about like finding EVPs, like usually what ends up happening, or what I think to be like legitimate EVPs, they don't necessarily sound how we would sound being recorded onto a device. Sometimes they come off like they're speaking into an old tin can, or like the sped up, or extra like crackly for whatever reason. It's
I always almost say it sounds like kind of like somebody talking without vocal cords, right? Like if they're trying, like if you if you were to have like cancer or something, you had your vocal cords removed and you're trying to speak and it comes out like this, like that's what I think to me it kind of sounds like. But that was,
and that's why a lot of it comes off kind of like whispery sounding, it's just, you can just imagine the amount of energy it takes to like really even just try to manipulate a device like that when you don't have the ability to you don't even have vocal cords at that point.
Exactly.
It's like, so how do you convey something audibly? using a device. And so, I mean, it's the same way any device works, really. You know, like when we're using like analog recorders or any type of device, it gets recorded onto, it uses like magnetic frequencies to record, you know? So, and then, I mean, we've gotten better with recordings, you know, we're not recording on wax cylinders anymore, but it's like those having to do that when you don't have like an actual like projectile, like body or vocal box to do that. It just recording onto like an actual device sounds so different when you're doing it without a physical medium, you know?
But there's really no disputing a good EVP that it's a human voice. You know, I even did some diving and digging and looking into the CIA declassified documents from the Freedom of Information Act and found a whole document on EVPs that the government had conducted, and them proving that it is human voice. So like that, I have that posted somewhere, but that's yeah, it's wild. That's for sure.
Sometimes I wonder if RF like gets involved with our, you know, devices as well, you know, because just like a radio frequency can actually transmit sound. I mean, that's how we get, you know, music and our devices in a car. And that is what, you know, an unperceivable sound wave that, you know, that if it could interact with our radios in our car, who can say that it doesn't interact with our recording devices, you know? So,
and that's also kind of the reason, the theory behind a spirit box, right? Or portal and things of that nature, manipulating AM FM frequencies.
Right. And so, I mean, and sometimes our gear isn't, you know, correctly, I guess, shielded from, you know, radio frequencies. I mean, it's literally covered in plastic. If it could like, you know, transmit through a steel car into your radio, it could definitely go through a piece of plastic on your audio recorder. So it could be that, you know, everything that we're hearing is, you know, completely explainable. And I have to be, you know, objective too, you know, and just understand that like, it could be something like that. You know, that's why I love using things like analog, like just give me one of those small little tapes, like recording tapes, so that whatever gets picked up strictly on that device, you know, and it will kind of, you know, that little, you know, celluloid magnetic strip will act as like I guess there is no middleman that can like a digital recorder, for instance, if there is RF coming through and there's somebody talking on or music or something, it can go through into that device. But if you have like that actual strip that it's getting recorded on, maybe it won't pick up the RF, you know, it won't pick up the frequencies. It'll just go straight to the magnetic strip, whatever is being spoken to. And so that's why we had this conversation actually at Deering, how we prefer these older devices to investigate with, because I mean, you never know, like what.
I was just going to say, like those older recorders, the casing on it is like the DR60. It's almost like paper thin, right? And I mean, look at the Zoom and like a Tascam. That's like heavy plastic. We use a lot of the older recorders, but we use like the newer ones as well. So
yeah, and even like the newer, like more badass recorders that are out there that you see a lot of people in the field using on television. What sucks about those is that, you know, there is software that is inside of these devices that are meant to actually correct the audio for better users' listening experiences, so that if there is, you know, an EVP coming through and it sounds grainy, or if it comes in tinny, that software within these modern devices lays that over and you're not even going to hear it. They're going to correct that audio right away, because that's what they're designed to do.
Exactly. It almost, you know, like white noise suppression and things like that to make the dictation sound better. So it might just wipe out an EVP that you know, like you said. So, you know, that's funny, because I've actually been in the market and looking around for a reel-to-reel recorder. I want to go real old school.
Yeah, I've been looking at that too. But speaking of frequencies, let's play our spirit box session that we did in that room as well. You weren't there. You had taken off to the
Deering
Stone House. So let's show this to everybody. Can you say my name? Scenario. Can you say my name again? What's his name? Michael.
What?
OMG. Michael. What's his name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? How many people are in this room that are alive?
Come closer.
You want me to come closer? Where? I don't know where you're at. Tell me where in the room. Here? Are you by the window? What's your name?
Mary Bell? 2 syllables. Something Bell. Mary Bell.
Do you like it that we're in this room? That people keep coming in and out? That was pretty cool.
It definitely sounded like the Michael to me. Eric, you're always getting your name called, man, all over the place.
We were on another show with tell me how you feel about this. We were on another show with losing my voice with Cody and Satori from Ghost Hunters, and Cody was talking about like what we thought of when you're investigating a place like so many times. Like, do we feel that the spirits like feel comfortable with us and like we get more activity that way?
Build up a rapport, and because like some of the places that we hold our events, we're going to monthly, and it almost seems like we do start to get, the more and more we frequent a place, we get more of our names called and different things and different EVPs, Ovilus, all kinds of different devices and things of that nature, for sure.
That's why I started out when we first went in that room. I was like, well, you remember me, and I think you remember Susan. Like, I mean, you've been there like, I don't know how many times. I know I've been there for at least 20 times. Like, they got to know who you are. Like, they got to recognize you, right?
Well, me, I've only been to Deering Estate that one time for like a good 8 to 10 hours, and that was it.
No, but previously, when you were with LPI.
Yeah,
How many times did you
I only went to
investigate
Deering Estate that one time for that investigation.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
The second time I've ever been there was with you guys, and so
okay, cool.
It's been a while. And I do think that the living also gives off energetic imprints too. So the more you frequent the place, the more your energy, kind of melts with the energy that's already there. It's another reason why, like, for instance, you have to be careful, like, if you want to preserve a place's like spiritual memory, to like curb tourism to it, because you have all these people going now, like there are locations, like super popular places. I'm just not going to name them because I'm not going to knock anything.
We've been to a few of them.
They probably started off as incredibly active places, but now they get like incredibly like amounts of people, like a volume of people coming in almost daily, going in and asking questions, bringing gear, imprinting their energy. And then eventually you're actually just pushing out all the energy that was originally there and creating your own imprints. And the people that go there that are not
stone tape theory.
Well, yeah, I believe strongly in the stone tape theory, but it's also the people that go in there and that also have maybe not an understanding or maybe even a fear of the paranormal, and they go there with friends who don't, like, then it changes the dynamic of the haunt, and you start getting these like malevolent hauntings that are not necessarily human, just kind of snowballing in a direction. And it's really just caused by, mental fear-based energy of people going in there
Exactly.
based off of, paranormal tourism, and
Yeah.
so you're pushing out all the original energy of the spirits that had once made that place active, and then now all of a sudden it's not active in the same way, or now
It's like new energy coming in.
human energies in there anymore. Now you just
Yeah.
have like psychological fear imprints within a place, so things like that, I've noticed happening in locations, and which is why I love going to new uninvestigated locations. And when I do find things, like I try to commit to the field and record as much using the scientific method. But then at the same time, I like to respect, the energies of that place and try to keep it, as virgin energy as possible without,
Yeah.
it's hard to do that because and I'm guilty of being part of a TV series that made it so popular and snowballed to paranormal. And although I love the awareness that it brings, it also, it can also really change the dynamics of haunts and energies and locations.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Now, speaking of like paranormal, we're halfway through our show. So what we do every week is the paranormal tip of the week with Tim.
Tim
in the house. So let's bring
Tim's
him
been
up.
in the house for a minute. He's just been backstage. We should bring him up.
There he is.
Hey guys,
There's the man.
how you doing?
We're doing good.
Great show, man. Good job. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
So,
All right. So let's get started with the tip of the week.
Where are they?
hey guys, Tim Arnwine here, your long-haired ghost hunter with the tip of the week. Now you've done the full investigation. You got some evidence. Now you have two options. One is not ditching the client. Okay. One, let's say you debunk some stuff like you caught a high EMF field. Remember, prolonged exposure to EMF will play with your head. It'll make like you're being watched, you're being touched. It makes some people sick. Or let's say the original call was for strange noises and you find a family of raccoons. So if you debunk some stuff and the client's comfortable with addressing that and getting back to you, that's fine. Just remember, tell them you're available. Leave the door open. All right. Your next option is doing a follow-up investigation. Now, why would you do a follow-up? Well, maybe you didn't get anything. That happens. Or maybe you think you can maybe get better answers or just answers by bringing in different equipment. Now, if I do a follow-up and the client's comfortable with it, I ask them to keep a log for a few days, type of activity, time frame, because I want to come back at their time frame. I want the client to know at the end of the day that we did everything possible to find answers. Now, what did I mean by different equipment? Well, let's say you're doing an investigation and you pick up on a child spirit, or the location has a quirk to it. Like we've done, bars, prohibition type places, historic places. You may have to bring out some trigger toys to get a response from them, like a trigger toy for a child. A trigger toy. One time, I remember I brought a bottle of liquor and strapped a K-meter to it just to see. You also may want to try playing music to that time era. Anything to get a response. Okay? But on the other end, let's say the place was so active and you didn't have tools everywhere. You might want to bring back some more equipment, maybe more devices, more cameras. Now, if the place is widespread activity and you're able to, you might want to set up a wireless DVR camera set out all the cameras, plunk someone in front of a monitor. Now, if they see something, they let the team know, like check out the kids' room, something's happening. Because remember, not every spirit is going to trip a device. But if someone saw something on a monitor, you might have caught it on camera. Okay. Now, different approach. Now, let's say you're reviewing evidence and you catch a foreign language. You may have to bring someone back who speaks that language to ask questions. Or let's say the after fact, you catch a historical fact or an event that happened on the property. you may have to go back and address that. Or while reviewing an EVP, you catch a name. Now, it's okay to call the client and say, listen, we got Joe on a recording. Does that mean anything to you? Oh, yeah, Uncle Joe, he died years ago. Okay. Now you may have to go back and just hone in on the name and what was happening then. Okay. Now, if you deem the place is so negative and the client has such big concerns that a saging or a cleansing are necessary, please try to bring someone in on the team or available that know what they're doing. Because remember, saging is a very methodical, it's an ordered process. Okay. You just can't walk around and burn sage. It's kind of like throwing a firecracker in a room full of cats. They're all going to scatter and be a little agitated. Cleansings are a different beast. You got to get very specific with the intent. Again, you can't walk around, burning sage and shooting holy water with a fire hose. It doesn't work that way. So if you're going to offer the service, make sure you have someone who can do it properly. All right. So remember, follow up, leave an open door. The goal for any follow-up is to whittle down to get the best answers. So you may have to do it with different equipment, may have to take different approaches. All right. So that's your tip of the week. If you guys have any tips you want to share or expand on, let us know, because we can always learn from each other. Okay. I'm Tim Arnwine. I'm at longhairghosthunter.com, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. If you guys are in the South Florida area and you think you have an activity, reach out to War Party Paranormal. The book, Ghost Hunting Getting Started, is available on Amazon. So great show, everybody. Susan, thanks for coming out. We had a blast the other night investigating with you and the kids. Thanks so much. And we'll see you guys next week.
Great job, Tim.
Yes,
Awesome, Tim.
yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, Tim and I had a moment with the kids when we were in the cellars with all the wine bottles.
Yeah, with the Connect and all that. Yeah.
He brought out the SLS, and we had a moment to educate some kids on how to build rapport with spirits.
Yeah. And we actually had a couple of kids say, is there anything in these bottles? They're little middle schools looking for booze. We had to remind them they were empty. So that was fun. It's always
come out.
It's always fun to teach people about this stuff.
It is, and it's fun to see investigate. Well, honestly, I was surprised to see such young aged individuals learning about forensics and crime scene investigations at 13. That's just mind boggling to me. That's pretty cool. And coming, and how cool for their parents to let them come to a ghost hunt,
Right.
and learn about investigative tactics in the spiritual realms, and so that was pretty neat to be a part of. So thanks.
Know how to sign a waiver.
Did they sign a waiver?
I don't know, but
Probably.
Oh, thank God they didn't.
yeah, right.
But it's those kids are always, we've been doing it for years, and I know it's different kids, but the quality, they're always nice, and they'll call you out on stuff. They'll want to know why this works like this, dude. They're very smart kids, and it was fun.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
magnet program for you.
So,
Yeah, they didn't have that when I was a kid, that's for sure, because I would have
Oh,
been
no.
there for sure.
I would have taken that.
I had wood shop.
I went to Richmond Heights Middle School, and I did the zoological program, and I went to school at the zoo.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, that's pretty
cool. Yeah.
And then that was my magnet right there.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad I hope Tip was well.
neat. Tip was great,
That
as
was
always.
awesome.
So thanks a lot, guys. Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Tim. It was good times.
Yeah. Come out with us sometime again.
I want to.
She's in the 305 area now.
All
That's
right.
Yeah.
I still have a 305 phone number, so I'm keeping it real.
There you go.
They don't give those out
Oh.
anymore.
No, you'll get 786 now.
Not even. Those are all given out too.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah. What's the new area code for Miami? I think it's something
Really?
else.
There's a third one?
Yeah,
Too many darn people.
exactly. I kept my 305 number, even though I keep getting those spam calls. I just refuse to get rid of it.
No, I would never give up your 305. I got my 305, and I live in 954.
Oh, and you kept it.
You mean you don't need to renew your car's warranty?
I mean, apparently I need to do every 3 times a day.
Cool. So don't we have some other clips that we could show here?
Yeah, we do. So
we got
what
about
I'm going to
10
do is the
minutes.
second half, I'm going to have Mike talk about his clips because I wasn't with him.
Okay, we got about 10 minutes until we lose the KGRA digital broadcasting side of it, but we're going to continue on the social media side of it. So everybody that's here on the social media side could stick around until we finish up, but we got about 10 minutes until the KGRA side leaves us and heads on to the next program. Let me see here. Give me one sec. Let's go look at the clips. See what we got.
T-minus 10 minutes, Mike. No
I know
pressure.
it. Don't stress me.
Well, you got the one in the basement. You were just talking about the basement.
Yeah, let's do it. So,
I love that basement.
This one, you know, Ernesto and I, before the kids arrived, we kind of wandered down into the basement and check it out. We've never been there, so we're kind of trying to squeeze in as much as possible. And I'll just kind of
scared.
Yeah, I'll show this one here.
It's weird out here. Oh, it's weird. It's weird, right? I'm getting chills already. Like I literally just walked through the store and I'm already like heavy as shit.
Yeah, I guess it was from the Prohibition.
Yeah.
So obviously couldn't make that out. But yeah, we get those once in a while with the DRs, those like crazy streams, and it's unexplained on why or how but it's definitely exciting when you get one for sure. It's
towards the end, it sounded really high pitched, like
yeah, right. And Scotty pointed that out too. She was down there too. She came and walked in towards the end of the recording. I cut that part out, but you could hear the door open. But this was before that, and then it led up to another question that we were asking. It was in between. So yeah, it was. And she said the same thing. I couldn't hear the high pitched sound of it, but Scotty said the same thing. She's like, you almost hear like a high pitched part of it as well. But yeah, that was pretty creepy area too, down in the basement there. As soon as Ernesto walked in, he said you feel that like a heavy energy, down there, and I did. I kind of felt like a little different, walking past that threshold into that area. Like I said, I don't really know much of the history there, and when I do check out a new place or investigate somewhere, I try not to know the history. I don't want to. And then what I'll do is, after we get our evidence or our findings, and then I'll kind of see if anything lines up with the history after the fact. So that was pretty neat. And then this also doesn't really ever happen to me, but we went upstairs and I felt something cold on my neck. And obviously I'm going to look at the first thing, obvious things first. I'm like, is there any AC vents or anything like that? Or did something drip on me? But right after that, it almost felt like somebody placed a small cold hand on my neck and it stayed there. And you could, you could see my reaction in the video. I'll just put it that way. All right. Is there anybody from the Deering family here that wants to communicate with us?
What?
Was that you that just touched my neck?
Get the out of here. Are you okay? You don't look good.
I don't feel so great all of a sudden. I swear to God, something touched my neck, and then it felt like somebody put their hand, like a cold hand, on my neck like this. I swear to Christ. Yeah, I got goosebumps like that. MF. And I got kind of dizzy for a second. I started looking at Ernesto like...
You didn't look right. You looked like there was something was up with you. Like I could see it in your eyes. Like right now, the way you're looking at me, that's not how you looked a second ago.
Am I going nuts?
I'm getting chills now too.
Stand right here.
All right, watch out.
You feeling like wind or
No.
breeze? AC? There's no AC. It's hot as balls in here.
No, not at all. There's a door here.
Cabinet.
What is the cabinet?
Yeah, we scoped out everything. There was no breeze. There's no nothing. I mean, I couldn't explain it. I don't know. I mean,
I've done that place for years, and that bathroom is always active.
You know,
Sometimes I just shut the door and sit in there. I don't go in the rooms. I'll just stay in there and do some stuff.
yeah, that was pretty wild. And like I said, I can't prove it because you weren't there. You're not feeling it. You can only see my reaction, but it's definitely one of those personal experiences, you know. And Eric, you've investigated with me countless times. Have you ever seen me?
No, he never reacts to anything. So that was pretty odd, but
Yeah,
like
So what do you
I've
think is
even
going on at Deering? What do you think is going on at Deering? Like if we were to like put it all in a nutshell.
I think Charles Deering's protecting the place, and he's very protective, especially on that second floor. I know because that bathroom is right next to Mrs. Deering's room, and then she has her dressing room, which is the third room or the second room that's there in the back. So, like in the past, like I felt like we've gotten, and I think Tim can agree with me, like very negative energy, especially when we get closer and closer, and we're inside of in the dressing room of Mrs. Deering.
Yeah, I've seen shadows in her dressing room, and then like I said, that bathroom is just. Sometimes I'll spend a half hour in that thing when we're there. I always get early to places, so I'll do the cellar, then I'll go up to the bathroom and do some stuff because those two places are real hot.
And then even like on the third floor, like we've gotten where it's actually the most active in that building, but a lot of times they rope it off there.
Yeah.
But the last time we were there, we were filming and it was just our team, and we were getting evidence of a little boy that might have gotten punished or abused. Because like upstairs, there's these little offices, but then they have these like little like closets, but they're really low, like a little like I don't know.
They're tiny little
like,
things.
Yeah, like a little storage area. And I think we got some EVPs that someone was locked in there or being punched or something like that. So who knows what was going on?
I don't have enough.
What's that?
I said I haven't spent enough time there to weigh in on that question.
Yeah, and we spoke to Jessica, and when Charles was living there, he said there were no kids, but a lot of family visited. So who knows, like who could have came and stayed there? But that's the impression that I got. And then I feel like the Richmond Cottage is like completely different. I think it could be stuff that goes back even before Charles Deering was there.
Because that was pre-established there, right? And then he moved into there while they were building the mansion, right?
Yeah, that was actual hotel and inn in the late 1800s, and that there was like a little town there. There used to be, and I don't know if Susan remembers this. Remember the Old Cutler Inn, that restaurant right there, on Old Cutler, right when you turn into the Deering.
No,
it was they demolished it like I don't know, like several years ago. But that restaurant was part of the town of Cutler.
Oh,
they had a few other buildings too. So now like it's only the Richmond Cottage. So.
Well, yeah, there's so many people that have come through there, and especially if it was like a place for people to like put up for the night. It's just
definitely.
You had all sorts of people from all sorts of backgrounds there, and also just imagine the stress of building anything in those times. It's just and also. People, you have to think about how people were back in the days. Like I feel like vibrationally speaking, as human beings today, we are more aware. Like the way we raise our children. I mean, for the most part, the things that we're even allowed to do to our children, there's not much Remember back
Yeah.
then, you can't even lay hands on them anymore. You get in
Mhm.
trouble. But that was
Yeah.
in the past. I mean, I'm sure laying hands on kids just for saying something wrong, was normal, or
It was a lot of things back
so
then were.
and if you're the man of the house, you're bearing all the financial stress of everything, things like
Mhm.
that. Like, obviously, if he has a whole arsenal of booze in his house, who's to say he wasn't an alcoholic and let that out on people he loves sometimes?
Yeah.
So it's just like you have to kind of put the pictures all together and just, not to paint him as a bad person, but like men,
No.
especially when you were a head of household and let's say
Mhm.
you liked alcohol and he was probably a racist man.
Yeah.
Probably treated people like shit. And that was normal. That wasn't considered anything to bat your eyes at back in the day. He was just an average, like businessman at that point. And it's just, when you start having men go into his wife's bathroom, of course you're going to get antagonized. Of course he's going to want to push you, grab you by the back of your neck and get you out, like.
That's
So
been
it's just like,
protective.
you're highly disrespectful for any man in his wife's room, much less upstairs, which is like considered a private area. Outside in those days, you only went into the entertainment rooms of these houses. If you stepped out of that area, that was way out of bounds.
Yeah, you don't go there. Yep.
Probably get shot.
I mean,
it's
No, go
funny
ahead.
is right before that happened, if you listen to the question that I asked on the EVP before I felt that, I said, is there anybody here from the Deering family? And that's when I felt the, whatever it may have been. But yeah, what were you about to say, Tim?
No, in her room, I often ask, do you like men being in your wife's room? And often I get a stern no. So we'll stand at the foot of her bed and you go, you like men being in the room? No. All right.
Yeah.
So we got 2 more little clips, and then that'll finish up the clip side of things that we have. This was when I was in the Richmond cottage again in the it's the room where they had her gown. But one of the historians were telling us that originally wasn't her room. That was the men's smoking room. But I'm gonna play that, and it's something I picked up on my actual camera. So it wasn't through the recorder. It was through my camera with a Rode mic on it. So we'll play that.
Remember I was talking about the little boy?
Let me out now. And that there was no kids. There was nobody in the house at the time. It was just me.
Interesting. Scotty Burns over here says maybe there were servant children. And again, speaking about time and era,
definitely
probably was. There was no sometimes entire families would be working for a family, and that included the youngest as well, doing most basic chores. And if they did something wrong, then they're subjected to that as well. The reprimands of whoever the lady or the man of the house was, and a lot of the times those servants were, especially in those days, people of color, and they were, antagonized just for that, and these people were classist as well. So, if you weren't up to their tier, if you didn't have the same color of skin, if you didn't have the same wallet that they had, they looked down at you.
Yeah.
So that's just the reality of living in those days. And I feel like we have to take that into account when, people are like, oh, should we sage this house? Like, no, like these are the people who built it from inception. This person, put down the money and designed it and everything. This is his baby. He didn't even get to live in it. He died right after this stone house was built. So the only way he can enjoy that, that space is now. And here, what do we do? We're like coming in and out with like tours and things.
Well, he died right when it was complete too.
Yeah.
That's what she just said.
You had to enjoy it. And he was right there on, I believe, on the balcony facing towards the ocean. So people go, it's like that place is so beautifully amazing.
Beautiful.
That they do like early sunrise photo shoots there. They have regular events for that. So if you saw that and you just passed away, why would you want to leave that?
Exactly.
That's almost like heaven,
It's a wedding destination now too.
Well, he built that house around that one vision he wanted of the key, water. He wanted that window dead center on that, and that's where he died. That's just so ironic.
Yeah, it looks right at that little cut there. It really is beautiful.
That's why he built it. I mean, he built it just so he would have that view right there, and then he died there. It's like, it's just weird. Maybe he's bitter. He should be,
or he's really attached. He's really attached to the home.
Yeah.
So this is the last one for clips here. This was at the end of the night, and we were just getting ready to wrap up. And JP joined us, and Armando and Jenny with 305 Paranormal. They're there in the comments as well. So if you want to follow them and check out some of their content, and we were doing a quick little EVP session before we had to pack up and get out of there. Ripping there at the end.
Dude, my hand started hurting here into my hand. Pain, like shooting pain.
During that, the mom heard footsteps.
You heard footsteps?
Yeah.
Play yours.
Yep.
We don't mean any disrespect or any harm. We're not here to hurt you. These devices are here to hurt you. They're to help communicate with us. Is there a message that you want us to get out for you?
Get out. Get out.
Oh, get out, dude.
Oh my God. And what happened to your arm?
That was my hand. My hand was on fire. Like with pain.
It was crazy.
Wow.
I do not.
Yeah, dude.
You can hear his son. I don't like this.
They always come though.
Yeah, no, they're on it.
I mean, that's
they like going.
I mean, you got that message loud and clear. It's like they obviously feel like their privacy is being invaded, like that memory of, it's like a part of me wonders, like, I mean, are they actual spirits that are there? Is it just kind of like, I don't know. The more I investigate, the more I'm like wondering if these are just like kind of like these intelligent yet imprinted memories in a location. And so they'll never grow. They'll never learn. They'll always just be in this like that state that they were when they were living. So it's like, we evolve as people in our lives, but that's it. Like that energy that's there is them as evolved as they'll ever get. And so if they're going to be like abrasive to people or guests or people coming in, and here we are coming in and like picking at their history, asking them questions, they're going to react, and I feel like that's a pretty clear get out, like.
Yeah, that was a super clear, and it doesn't get any more straightforward than that, right? And right before, actually back when we were in the upstairs area in the bathroom, I couldn't play it on the radio show because of FCC requirements, but it said, I got an EVP that said clear as day. I couldn't even play it on this because it says F you, and then you hear some like chatter, and then you hear no, F you too. Almost like two people were arguing, like they weren't communicating to us, I don't believe, through the questions that we're asking. It almost sounded like I caught background of people arguing with each other. And that was, I'll post it on my Instagram. Obviously there's no FCC stuff there, but I'll post it on there afterwards if you guys want to check it out. But yeah, that was pretty wild too. Almost like two people were arguing and we just captured it. What's your feeling on that?
What I need to do is I need to talk to Bill. He's our producer. And once we get off the FCC, if we can play all the cursing EVPs after.
Yeah, after the 1 hour mark. Yeah.
Yeah, after the 1 hour mark. Those are the best
Maybe
ones.
a lot of the things that you're picking up, we take it personally. And it's really, you're just catching that crisscross chatter like you heard, like you're like, oh, maybe they're talking to us. Maybe actually there is no awareness. You just happen to be in the middle of those energy influxes, and it just gets recorded on the devices. And we like to we have egos, in the field. And we're like, oh, they're talking to us. Like that's for me. But really, it probably has nothing to do with you. They're probably completely unaware that you're there. And you're just picking up like energetic imprints that are within a space, and
I believe that.
I mean, that at the end of the day, I feel like that more often than not, that's usually what I end up getting on investigations.
I agree. But then there's also those times, right, where you can get intelligent responses from like devices like REM pods and things like that. And like kind of like what you were saying earlier is that you kind of unlock that little secret there with the the Latino worker and a scandal that was going on by using, if I remember hearing you correctly, by using a K2 meter and getting yes and no responses and things of that nature through a series of questions, almost intelligent.
And even in those instances, like, you know, even though I feel like I'm having this conversation and you know, maybe I'm leading myself down this story path, you know, like maybe that's something I need to check. This, as I said, that was my first investigation. The things that I did in my very first investigation to the things I do now are so different, you know, like fast forward to, you know, a couple hundred of investigations in the future, how I would have conducted myself, you know, now compared to what I did at Deering Estate is very, very different. And so, like, would I have been doing, you know, like leading like a little, you know, breadcrumb story for myself? That could have been the case, you know, that could have been total BS. And I just made it up because I was going off of what the lights were doing. You know, if in my head, I came up with other tangents and other forks in the road, it would have been another story, you know? And like, so I'm aware of those things and I try to be as objective as possible when I investigate now. But you know, it was weird. The only thing is like, of course you tell yourself like, oh, like about the gazebo, you know, like what I remember is like, is there a gazebo? They're like, yeah, there's a gazebo out there. Like, where's there a little structure outside? And like things like that. And it's like, you try to make things relevant all the time. But at the end of the day, when you're investigating, you just gotta let the gear speak, you know, and kind of take your context out of it because really, I don't know, that's the best way to be as objective as possible. And like Tim had mentioned, you know, in his like in his
tip of the week,
you know, like when you're, you know, like you get things in EVP and like, who's this Bill character, you know, it's not until you talk to the client and be like, who's Bill? Oh, that's my uncle, or that's my grandpa. And then it starts another storyline that's away from what you were thinking. Like, oh, who's that? You know, and then it leads you down another trail. And it's always great to follow up and be as objective as possible and let the gear speak, because you know, if you get names, if you get like sentences, then those might enlighten you as to maybe I should ask different questions next time, or you know, maybe EVPs is not the stronghold, but we're getting all of these light anomalies. We should use still photography instead and just go in focusing on visuals next time, you know?
Yeah, because sometimes I tell people never take the first light up on a gear. You know, like, or somebody here, if it lights up, like, oh, you're here. Oh, that's good. Because you gotta be, you know, as honest as you can with it. Don't take it for granted. You know, and then you know, I always, you know, you bring the evidence and then the client's concerns and their stories and together, and then you try to take it from there. You know.
But no, like you said though, too, is you're always learning too, different techniques, different things. We try different methods and different experiments. And different things like that as well. And you know, you're always learning. Everybody, I mean, at least I feel like I am. You know, I'm always learning different things and picking up on different stuff. But yeah, you're right. You know, that's why, like I said too, is I try not to look at most of the history of before I go to a new location, because I want to see afterwards what lines up. You know, and that's just the kind of way I look at it.
And nothing's better than getting like evidence that correlates to the history. And like the cool thing about South Florida, like it's almost like all these like historical places all have a link. And then you have like paranormal evidence. Like we were talking about the Seminole Indian Wars. I mean, linked to the Cape Florida Lighthouse in Miami. And you go up north to downtown Fort Lauderdale where they had the Cooley Massacre, where it all started. They slaughtered a family. So,
and then it all somehow ties to Henry Flagler. You know, with the, you know, and his whole construction of everything that he did in Florida and everything as well. The Flagler Museum is supposed to be pretty active as well.
Yeah, it's amazing because people will be amazed that, oh, you got that much activity in South Florida, that many places. I go, yeah, man. It's like
people don't realize the history down here. You know,
I mean, history is everywhere, that's for sure. But I mean, also geographically speaking, look at we're a peninsula surrounded by salt water. You know, which is a heavy, you know, like conduit for energy. We're completely built on limestone, and the types of like, you know, mineral that we have is very conducive for memory storage. And so, of course, things that happen in this area, geographically speaking, is going to be stored somehow. And so I think that that's, you know, you pair that with, you know, lots of different types of traumas and like, you know, just things that get, you know, I feel like if anybody ever had that sensation of like something really awful about to happen and you feel it like in your stomach, your gut, your chest, it's like an electrical current that shoots through you, like, oh shit, you see your child run out into the middle of the street, there's traffic. That feeling you get inside is an electrical current, just boom, that the second you have that sensation, that is grounded from the ground up. And if you have like a whole geography construction that is conducive to like storing energy, which quartz is, you know, and then, you know, just the natural mineral, if it's heavy metals, if you're surrounded by, you know, salinated water, which is a high for energy. And we're in a peninsula that's literally all of those things. So it's like, you know, that's why people are like, whoa, why is England so haunted? It's like, it's literally an island.
Yeah.
And it's old. You know, it's really historic.
That limestone is almost like a tape recorder, right?
One of the largest mines for lime in the world, it was like at one point in time was in the UK. And so that's the whole thing, you know, and that's why it's like, why is the UK so haunted? Because of that. You know, and then literally there's an excuse like in any geographical sense, you know, like you start talking about ley lines, you start talking about minerals within the earth, you start talking about, I mean, just our bodies, for instance, like lunar cycles and just water in general, how we are currents of energy that all coincide with each other, you know?
And yeah, we're mostly water, right? And that's kind of funny what you were just saying there too, is a reason that a lot of shamans and Native Americans and different things like that didn't wear shoes on purpose because they wanted to connect and ground to the earth. You know, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole in its own, right? But
yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's important. I mean, I think the reason why we as people have such traumas and issues is because we don't connect to the earth anymore. We don't have these groundings, you know, and it is important to do that. But, you know, we're little by little, we lean, you know, as we start turning, you know, a stone over, we start leaning so much on technology. We even forget what it is to be human. You know, the interactions, we are sociable, like group species. We don't even do that anymore. We like don't even see each other in fucking 4D anymore. You know, everything's this now, you know, after COVID. And it's like, of course we get further and further away from things. And people are like, why are we like, not like, are there modern haunts anymore or things like that? And I was like, well, no, we're not as grounded as we used to be to the earth anymore spiritually. So maybe there's, and all that has to do with the reason why some of our energies are not as sticky as they used to be back in the 1800s, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And literally everything you did took blood, sweat, and tears and grounding somehow. You had to get your hands in the dirt to do it.
Exactly. People were more tied to and you know, their things because they had to build them from the ground up. Now we're in such a world where everything is so easily consumed and stuff that you're not putting your hard-earned time and effort into things like they did. Like, you know, they would build their own homes, they would do, you know, like that is not as a way of the past, you know. But and like I kind of said,
so attached to those structures, they become like an extension of you, like a physical extension of you, you know.
Right.
You have when the pride of a home ownership, of a homestead, when you had to do everything yourself. Of course their bodies and their, like, people got buried on their properties, you know, like there was no like, oh, we're going to put you in a cemetery 2 hours down the road, you know, like you lived it, you worked it, you died on it, and you became part of it. That energy is literally become this energetic alchemist in the 3-dimensional time and space. Of course your spirit's going to be embodied by that. That's how hauntings happened. That's why there's such strong hauntings in like these early era buildings. Makes sense. Now, like the things that we have, you know, don't even survive like, you know, some of these structures used to. We don't even have attachments to our homes. We could just move if we don't like a place, you know, and we didn't build it. We have these like other people design and build it. Everything looks, I mean, in South Florida, like a cookie cutter home. You go into neighborhoods, all the houses look the same. There's no real connection there.
Zero lot line.
So that's why I feel like there is no like heavy haunts anymore, you know?
The only real good thing I could say is that after talking to April on our last show and talking to Patty Negree on the show prior to that I asked them a question. I said, and I'll ask you the same thing. Do you feel that there is a new spiritual awakening upon us? Like, do you feel that more and more people, like we're going to be going through another spiritual age here soon, like they did back in the early 1920s and things of that nature, where people are more aware and they're going to start going back to their original roots of spirituality and things of that nature?
I think there's no going back to the original roots, because ascension is just that. It's forward, it's higher, you know. But I do think that, you know, we are all, vibrationally speaking, growing into a new realization of what spirit is, you know, and I
connecting to a human
today with just young people, like the generations, you know, after me, you know, and the things that they're aware of. And I mean, look at the kids that we saw. Like when I was looking for ghost hunts and I was their age, I mean, I couldn't find it. I had to really, really seek it out. By seeking it out, I meant getting my own gear and guerrilla investigating at like the asylum off Chrome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was like, you know, that's what I did when I was 13, because I didn't find a tribe. And then all of a sudden, here's 60 kids who want to ghost hunt. You know, that's an awakening right there. They're like, they believe in spirit, you know. And then on top of that, people are leaning more towards, like, I mean, maybe going back to the rootage, like we talk about, like meditation, and we go into like ancient Eastern philosophies of like connecting with oneself. Now everybody meditates, and there's different forms of meditations, and people, you know, so things like that. I'm noticing, people are awakening to their own spiritual potentials and not leaning so heavily on like older doctrines of religion, which I think is an ascension, you know? So I think that's really cool to see that that's growing in a space. And, you know, that could also be, if we're all vibrationally like on a different level, maybe we don't stick here in the third and fourth dimensions when we die anymore. And that could be another reason why there's no hauntings.
I believe that.
Because there is an ascension outside of this dimensional time and space that we reside in, because no longer are we stuck in it, because we have evolved beyond that, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that that's what happens when I die. Like, I'm not going to haunt nobody. I'm going to be sitting up there with the ascended masters. You know, that's what I want.
Yeah. And like, there's so much information now with the cell phones and everything right at your fingertips.
Yes.
So I think that helps it too.
It's an information age. You can choose
the
types of realities you want based off of that.
And something to touch on that you mentioned earlier, you know, shows like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures and all these other shows that are out there and everything. I think it is kind of, in a way, it's good to bring, you know, there's the pros and cons of everything, but, you know, I think it is good to bring awareness of these things and to kind of bring it more mainstream a little bit and less taboo in nature, you know, and I think it's I think in a way it's a good thing.
Less taboo and more understanding and less scary, you know?
I've never feared the paranormal. I think there's nothing to fear there.
No.
You know, and
people fear what they don't understand.
Exactly. And when you bring fear energy into a space, that's what you're charging. You become the energy.
It makes it stronger. It's fuel.
So you are turning what could if you go into a place fearing the paranormal and you have like a wonderful, happy, benevolent ghost there, if the only energy source for that benevolent, like, you know, maybe motherly type spirit is your fear, then she's going to turn into a fear hag. You know, you have the ability to do that. And that's essentially what cleansing is when you go into a space. You know, you're transforming, because energy can neither be created or destroyed. It is, you know, you go in there and you can transform it, you can transmute it into different things. But if you go into it with like aggression, you know, like ego, fear, then you're going to turn those types of energies into that, you know? And so you can literally go into a place that has like super heavy, dark, you know, like quote unquote demonic energies in it and turn it into a conducive energetic environment if your energy is right, you know?
I like how you said quote unquote, because that's a new thing on TV now. It's everything. That's the hottest thing. Demons this, demons that. I think they're it's very, very rare. I think that you can get it. I put it this way: if you were an a-hole in life, then you're probably an a-hole in your afterlife, you know. And I think a lot of times that's what people run into. It's not necessarily demonic or this or that and the other thing. I know Scotty on the team, she said she's been doing this, geez, how many
50.
residentials for 50 years. And she said she's maybe run into one or two cases that could possibly be demonic, but very, very, very rare.
Tim's been around forever too.
Yeah, I've been over 20 years. I've been in one
Well,
place.
he's here. He could talk for himself.
One bad place in 20 years. But I think,
but when you say demons, if you come across like a legitimate demon, like, are you talking to like Beelzebub, or are you talking to like what, like, or what are these demons, like, I do believe that there are non-human energies, and I do believe that they exist on a spectrum. And I do believe that you can turn a super benevolent energy that, let's say, if we're talking about angels and demons, you go into a place that has, high vibrational energy, and somebody, sees that this bright violet light, and they're like, oh, this is Archangel Saint Michael. You can take that energy, you bring the wrong person in there, that energy feeds off your negativity, you're going to turn it into the antithesis archetype of Saint Michael, which is a demonic entity, and so that's what the pillars of when we're talking about like angels and demons. If we go into like the book of Enoch, right, and we talk about the higher arcana of angels and stuff, they all have mirrors of themselves. And so essentially all of these entities are also demons. They're the same entity, but on different levels of that scale. They just exist, just like all of us have duality. So do these non-human energies, and we personify them so people can understand them. We put them with like ripped blonde dudes and blue eyes and armor and swords and angel wings, but really they're just a form of vibrational energy that have been personified. Same things with demons, and it's like but the thing is that they all exist in the duality of everything. And I've seen, like people can go into a location, Mike gets targeted, gets a cold hand on the back of his neck. The way he gets treated by the same energy and how I would get treated by the energy could be completely different just based on our energy outputs. Yeah. And so you can have a demonic entity experience, and I could have a totally opposite by the same energy. And so that's something that I've experienced, going into locations. And that's how I tell people how to transform that energy is really all about, if you're having problems with negative hauntings in your home, I say, first, check your mental health, check the situations you're dealing with. Are you dealing with anxiety, depression, substance abuse? Are you dealing with abusive relationships? Do you need to go and see a specialist? You need counseling. Do you need to meditate more, and, there are times like I've had to deal with my own demons. I had to deal with my own negative energies. And it wasn't until I turned to transcendental meditation. I started working with I severely cut back on, because we had just a little snippet in my past. Like I used to work a lot in the music. And I worked at venues, and I was like every night going there, working with bands, going on tours, tour managing, all of that stuff. And it involved a lot of alcohol, just every night going out, throwing back whiskey shots, and then I was like, oh God, low energy, low vibrational things. I was having these like sleep paralysis situations and having ag haunts, But it wasn't until I cut back on the drinking, I started focusing on my internal health. I started doing transcendental meditation, and my whole energy shifted, and I never had to deal with that. And then I started seeing things snowball in a great way, like things that I felt like I was constantly getting roadblocks, held back, like if I felt like I was cursed. But then I changed my energies, and I became aware of things I shouldn't do that weren't healthy. And then I started, doors of opportunity started opening for me. Now, all of a sudden, things were in alignment with my ultimate, goals in life. And it all had to do with just checking your energy. And I to go into locations, investigating, getting targeted all the time by these negative entities. It was because
they're feeding off you.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's negatives and positive. It's all energy.
Bad things of myself going into you bring your own emotional baggage with you in every investigation. Whatever you're dealing with at home, if there's an energy that has something similar going on, and when we go into places, of oppression and things like that, you're going to attract those energies straight to you. I mean, you might get great evidence, but then at the same time, it's like, it sets the wrong tone for the paranormal. People start to fear it, and then I try not, even in Paranormal Caught on Camera, they try to spin, a lot of the times, like people are talking about fear-based haunts, and I'm just like, no, it's not that, it's really you that changes the whole dynamic of everything.
And we teach that when we go out to our residential cases as well.
But I've never, people ask me, anything ever go home with you? I go, no, I've had a positive house. There's really nothing there. And I think with the team, we're a big asset because there's really no drama in the team. We don't bring drama into a house or an investigation.
Yeah.
And we're pretty
close-knit and very selective who's on the team.
And we're very committed to helping everybody.
That's going back to the energy you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like if we're going in there, our energy has to be in sync.
Yeah, so we don't bring a lot of baggage into it to allow that stuff to be built from us.
Sometimes you can't control that baggage. You have your own lives. You have things you do. Sometimes you try to put that baggage at the door, but even if you brush it off, it's still in your energy field. But you're human. Everyone has that. And at the same time, it could make you more attractive to certain energies that can relate with you, in like a spiritual realm, because let's be honest, when you're going to places that have haunts, it's not because, they had the most wonderful deaths, they died in their sleep so peacefully, it's like,
this is what Scotty has to say.
Of severe trauma. And so you bring a little bit of that trauma in and you start to interact with these energies, but it just like snowballs. It's like this constant,
Scotty's a badass. They're afraid to go home with their.
That's great. I mean, I always open my energy to bring what I call homework.
Yeah. So you're sort of like a bouncer.
The investigation at home. Why not?
Yeah. Well, a lot of us do our investigations to get into this. It's our escape from the real world as well,
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
And that's one thing that we also like to do too, is like we like to goof around and make it fun, because a lot of the stuff we're dealing with is morbid and you got to make sure that you are, joking around, you bring light and, the light and a positive energy, by joking around and having fun and bringing that into. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit, I think, on the next week's episode with Daryl, because I know he likes to. Daryl from Ghost Hunters is going to be on with us, and I know that he likes to joke around and mess around too. And I think that's going to be a fun topic.
He's a lot like us.
Yeah,
I can bring like a light mood and change. Like it cuts, like sometimes you go in a place you could cut the energy with a knife, and like if you go in with like a good sense of humor, or have like a jovial, like time, as long as you're not pushing the boundaries of disrespect, like
exactly.
Like then you're good. Sometimes you need that for your own energy, so you could go into a place and it affects you. Like you could, like if you're going to a place that has seen severe traumas and you never experienced that as a victim of any crime, all of a sudden you take on the energies as if you were there. And that melts right back in, and you could take that home. It turns you in depressive spirals, and
that's something that we've seen at one of our investigations that we go to and frequent is the Devil Tree in Port St. Lucie, and we've brought some people out there with us that were, had some psychic abilities and different things, and were really spiritual. And they get a very, very weird vibe. And you know what? We don't tell them what tree is which tree, because I don't know if you're familiar with the history of that. It was Florida's first serial killer did some really obscene and unspeakable things to some women out there. And the tree is still there. It's over 150 years old and holds a lot of energy. And we've investigated it a couple of times. And there's been a lot of sightings and different things. We actually did an episode on it. But yeah, no, kind of like what you were saying, there's a lot of traumatic events, murders, different things. And we bring somebody that's in tune to the spiritual energy out there, and they right away.
And people go there and practice negative things there. So I think that's what increases that negative energy that's out there.
Go ahead. No, I'm saying I was lucky because I'm a retired medic. So I learned early in Miami and at Jackson. So I learned early not to bring home. I saw death over and over and over. So I taught myself not to bring it home, or it happens, and I brought that into this. So it's just something I was trained to do, and I think it pays off with the paranormal.
But does it? Is that not a defense mechanism that actually clouds your own energy? Like when you have something like that, it just turns you from being an empathetic human being into something that just won't process trauma. It's like a catch-22. It might help you sleep better at night, but at the same time, it's not the best thing for your own psychological.
No, I mean, we learned because I know a lot of old time medics who literally walked off the job because they let it get to them. So I learned early not to let it get to me. I did my best. Things happen. So, but talking about the tools again and the evidence, I bring that. Plus, I'm very open to letting the tools be objective,
right,
to the evidence. So, but like I said before, I mean, I think we have a good positive. We bring good positive to every location, and I think that helps out because I've been with investigators who just are miserable in their life, and they bring it.
Yeah, we met a few of those.
And then they bring it to the investigation.
Yeah.
It doesn't really help. It helps for evidence, you're right, but it never helps the client.
Without no darkness, there would be no light, right?
Yeah.
So, it's yin and yang. So, but no, I really appreciate your insight on stuff, Susan. Yeah, you kind of blew my mind. You have a lot of knowledge there about the whole situation, and that was
we learned a lot tonight.
Yeah, no, you're really good.
Sure.
That's awesome. And it's fun to get into deep conversations like that with people that understand and like-minded people. So it was awesome, and I think the guests were loving it as well.
They had a blast.
Well, I'm happy to talk about this stuff. It's like what I'm passionate about.
Us as well.
We need to bring you back and go investigating again too. Whenever you get
I know a couple of people are like, you have to have Susan back again.
Yeah. We had several requests on the chat. Bring her back.
Susan, why don't you tell people a little about where they can find you, what you're up to, what you want people to know about?
Well, have you seen the banner rolling at the bottom, the darkzone.tv? That's my, so I'm part of a production team. We put together independent paranormal content away from networks. We are our own network called the Dark Zone, and we do paranormal investigations, long form style. We spend weeks at locations you know and love and heard of. And we investigate with people. We investigate with teams from all over the U.S. We investigate with some of your favorite celebrity paranormal people. And it's an inclusive community of investigators and paranormal enthusiasts. And it's, an unrated, uncut version of real paranormal investigations. And so
it's some really great content, guys, for real. I checked it out. I looked into it. It's awesome. She's got some really good content there. It's structured really well. It's easy to access. You guys have an app, right?
Yes, we have a Dark Zone app that just launched. So you can join the app and watch all this free content. I just did live investigations. We done like the Lizzie Borden house. We did the Conjuring house. We did... the LAPD museum.
That was recent. That was last weekend.
Well, it was a recap episode, but we go and we do live recaps on all of that. And with, because these are ongoing investigations with our team members that continue to go and continue to do research there. And so, the Dark Zone is a platform that I run with other people you might recognize. And I'm Susan the Dragon Witch on Instagram. And I'm shooting Paranormal Caught on Camera season 6 right now. Season 5 just came out. I think we're 3 episodes in, so you can watch that on Travel or Discovery Plus if you have the it's not an app, it's a streaming service. So that's what we've been doing. And then I'm hoping to get more involved in like South Florida scene with the paranormal. Kind of working that hopefully to do more research down here, because this is especially the neighborhood I grew up in, is such a interesting, old, lovely place. Like I drive down Old Cutler every day and I just see new things every time now. Just my awareness of my neighborhood has just expanded so much now that like, when you're a kid, you grow up and you take things for granted. But now that I feel like coming back to like my home, I'm seeing things in a light that I've never seen before. So it's good to be back and going to Deering Estate and seeing it again.
Yeah.
It was awesome to be there. So I would love to do like a full-fledged investigation there, like something that's never been done.
We got to talk about that later.
Yeah. And just have like some real time there. And
well, just remember now that you're in Miami, you now have a little paranormal team here that you can hit up anytime you like and investigate with.
We're doing something.
And I love working with local teams all the time. And so reconnecting out here with people in South Florida and doing investigations in my own backyard is like something I'm focused on, because I was stuck in LA for the longest time doing stuff in that arena, which is also very interesting. But I feel like doing things down here, I feel like South Florida is not really highlighted a lot.
No, it's not.
It's and there's such a treasure trove of like just beautiful historical locations, interesting things about just cultures in general. It's a very international place, We've got
so many different cultures,
cultural history throughout like
Caribbean, Latin America.
Exactly. It's just
multicultural. That's what we are.
We did Villa Paula in Little Haiti. That place was amazing.
Yeah.
And
we got some interesting places for you.
Yes. And I definitely need to delve more into those areas and communities.
Scotty says we're going to adopt you.
All right, I'll be your parachild over here.
She's our paramom.
Yeah, she's the mother hen. She's always kicking our ass in line.
Tim, well, let's throw a little shot out there too to where everybody could find you. Plug your stuff and tell people where they can find you.
Longhairghosthunter.com, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Following you right now.
Oh, cool.
Ghostly Experiences.
Ghostly Experience. I always forget that damn thing. Ghostly Experiences. It's something Eric and I and Scotty threw together where we do lectures.
Paranormal boot camp,
and then we break right into an investigation. And then the book,
doing it the right way.
Ghost Hunting Getting Started. It's on Amazon. And if you guys are if you're local to South Florida and you think you have activity, reach out to War Party Paranormal. You may call me because I'm one of the case managers.
Most likely you.
Yeah. And we never charge for an investigation.
Never.
We're just there to help people.
And you can see the website ticking down across the bottom there, warpartyparanormal.com. And also, if you're out of the state of Florida and you need help, if you go to our website or Tim's website too, there's a list of all the reputable paranormal teams across the country that you can contact and stuff that will help you out that are reputable.
Yeah, we have I have contacts with social national registries where I can hook you up with a team. They're usually very well vetted. So like one lady called me from Oregon. I said, no, honey, I don't jump on planes, but I will put you in touch with a team in Salem. So it seemed to work out for her. So yeah, that's a good, if you guys need any help, just let us know. We're there to help everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. And my stuff, you can find it. The easiest way is just to go to my website, www.flaparanormalresearcher.com. And it has a link to all my social media and different things, my YouTube channel. And, we post evidence of stuff that we find and different clips and stuff like that. And that's that for me.
You're playing the wrong way.
Yeah.
I'm Eric Vanderlaan, and I'm your host, and I'm the team leader of War Party Paranormal. And you can find War Party Paranormal right there on the bottom, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. And for my personal stuff, I'm Ghost Hunter of South Florida. I'm on pretty much everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube as well.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you, Susan. Right.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, thanks for coming, and thanks for investigating with us.
Yeah, you're awesome.
We'll do this again. And also, hi to everyone in the chat. Thanks for being part of the conversation.
All our teammates are on here. They're always very...
Go check out the Dark Zone.
Yeah.
That's right. Go to thedarkzone.tv. Check it out.
Exactly, yeah.
Download the app.
Eric,
really
don't
cool.
forget, we got to play the rap.
Yep, definitely. Okay, you
We
gonna take it
always
home,
forget.
Mike? I'll let you take it home.
All right. Thanks again, guys. Thank you, Susan.
Have a safe trip to Colombia.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.